Hi there, folks. Ernest Morrow here, living awake. I'm here to tell you today what your biggest obstacle is, your biggest problem. I'm here to tell you what the belief that is causing all chaos, all suffering in your life is. And I'm so convinced by this because I see it over and over and over again in everybody that I've ever worked with, in everybody that I've ever been in any kind of relationship with, and in myself. And it's a lie. It's a very deep lie. It's the primordial lie. It's the lie that keeps us suffering. It's the lie that keeps us from being in contact with the truth of who we are. And here's the lie. You need to be different in order to be loved. That's the lie. That you need to be different in order to be loved. That is the entire root of the whole ego false self structure. That you need to be different than what and who you already are in order to be loved. I just want to breathe that in for a second. Everything that you have done in your life that has caused yourself and other people suffering, that has contributed to the earth suffering, has come out of that lie that you need to be different in order to be loved. And that lie, of course, is planted in us. In a sense, it's embedded in our genetic structure. But every child that comes into this world has their own experience of that in childhood, of this conditioning, that you need to be different in order to be loved. We live in a culture and in families, in an education system, and all of it reinforces at some level this lie. You need to be different in order to be loved. And if you're not different, we will withdraw affection. We will give you bad grades. We will put you in situations that don't support you emotionally, sometimes physically. And then when we add these intense traumas, physical, emotional, sexual abuse, that lie is driven even deeper. That who you are is not okay, just as you are. That's the lie. And in our genetic code, of course, we come from parents whose lives were shaped around that lie. And their parents, generations and generations and generations. This is the lie. We can take this story even back to one of those primordial myths, those primordial wisdom teachings of how the human experience began. And in the West, we have the Garden of Eden. We have these primordial parents of us all, Adam and Eve, who walk with God in the cool of the evening until until they believe the lie. And what is the serpent's lie? And of course, this is only one layer of this myth. There are many different layers and ways to come at this truth. It contains so much. But this layer, what is the lie that the serpent tells Adam and Eve? The lie that leads them out of that deep communion, that deep relationship with God. The lie is that they need to eat something else. They need to gain something. The knowledge of good and evil in this case. They need to know something that they don't know. That they are not enough right now. The serpent says, God doesn't want you to eat from this tree because if you do, you will be as gods yourself. The subtle, implicit suggestion there, as every marketer knows, it assumes the sale. It plants from a very implicit place the obvious, quote unquote, the obvious statement, the obvious fact that who Adam and Eve already are is not enough. There is something more that they have to do to be as God. The serpent introduces the most insidious doubt that who they are is not lovable. They need to be different in order to be okay. That's it. That's the lie. That's the lie that keeps me and you and all of us bound. It's the lie that keeps us striving in the world for more because we need something that we don't have in order to be okay. We need more money. We need a better relationship. We need a different brain chemistry. We need something else in order to be loved, in order to be okay. We need to have had different parents, a different childhood. We need to have something different in order to be okay. We need to follow this teacher. We need to pay for this therapy in order to be okay. There is no redemption at the end of any of those paths. None. None. Absolutely none. We cannot heal, become whole, based on this means and ends thinking, as if there is some place to get to. That whole paradigm, that whole way of thinking, that whole consciousness is the ego. That's what it is. It's the idea, it's the thought form that there is something else, some place I need to go, some way I need to improve in order to be lovable. It's not true. It wasn't true for Adam and Eve in the garden, and it's not true for you and for me right now. That's the problem. The problem is the belief that there is a problem. And why it's so insidious, why it's so difficult, is because we were little kids who just needed to be loved and approved of and told that who we were, affirmed that who we were was okay just the way we are. And all of us, because we were children of parents who didn't feel that way themselves, got a different message. That part of us wasn't okay. And that part of us that wasn't okay is the part that we tried to put behind us, separate off from ourselves, to keep it so that nobody would see it. And that part is the part that runs us. That part is the shadow. That part is what takes us into the world and drives that egoic thinking, that fuels that pain body. It's a shame body. The original sin is actually original shame. And knowing this, I am convinced, gives us an opportunity to see it when it shows up. And awareness itself is the greatest solvent. And there'll be more on this later. But for now, I just want to bless you all. And I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I know this to be true. You do not need one more thing. You do not need to be different in any way. You are lovable, just the way you are. And if we can live from that place and see each other with those eyes, the kingdom is right here, folks. And that's exciting. Peace.